In today's journey, we're going to take a look at Northern Brewer's anti-gravity pump kit. And we go into this knowing it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to fit a lot of our needs greatly. But with a few add-ons, it'll work perfectly for what we need. But let's start with an unboxing. The stainless steel racking cane looks great, but it comes with a different tip on it than was on the website's pictures. It's supposed to come with a stainless steel tip on it, but those have a tendency to fall off anyways. The Amazon listing had a red tip. But as you can see, the packaging is done very well, and anything that can be damaged is in an additional box. The included 10 feet 5/16 inner diameter tube may sound short, but once you add in the length of the cane, it's plenty long. And that's what makes this a kit. Whereas if you get just the pump, you'll get just this smaller box which includes the pump itself and the power adapter, and these instructions. Which we had a bit of a fight with ourselves on the proper way of using this pump, but now that we've used it a couple times, we have come around to using it the proper way. This may be our first time actually using the pump, but it's already appeared in a few videos of ours, and due to a scheduling conflict, we're just now getting around to doing the voiceover for this video. Now, some of you may be saying, that pump looks kinda like one I can get off Amazon for a lot cheaper. And you can. And we did, but this pump actually came broken. Plus, the Northern Brewer pump has other features that we find a lot better, such as this built-in on-off switch, which is very nice, along with this overkill power supply. It's really nice. The only way it could be better is if it was adjustable. That would give you the ability to change the flow rate depending on what you're doing. That way you could do full speed during primary, but then when you want to transfer out a secondary, you could slow down the speed as you come up to the end, and do a much gentler transfer. I'd also like to see a port for a foot pedal, because the first add-on we did was a foot pedal so that we could turn the pump on and off when our hands are full, and works as an emergency off, something we couldn't live without. And last but kinda least is the locking collars for the tubing. The barbs may seem like they're going to work by themselves, but you will definitely want to use these just to make sure. It's one of those safety things. Given all the electronics we're by when we're filming, we will definitely be using them no matter what. We'll be cutting this hose directly in half, but what you will probably want to do is actually get a tape measure out and see how different lengths feel for what you need to do. And because this hose is cheap enough, try out different lengths and see what works best for you in the long run. Some people may look at this pump as a bit of a joke because it can't move hot liquids, but just like the hose length, it's all about ease of use for your brew house. It's like a knife. If it doesn't fit you good, you won't want to use it. Like these barb fittings, they are fitting these tubings like a glove. Don't let it lull you into a false sense of security though. This pump can actually put out a lot of pressure, and you will want to make sure that, worst case scenario, you don't dislodge a hose. However, do dislodge that barb cover that Phil was having a problem with. And don't forget the tubing collar. During this process, you may find that there's some liquid inside of the pump. That's okay and normal. That's actually sanitized water to help keep the O-rings wet. Some styles of pumps like this are supposed to be stored with liquid inside of them. However, if the water smells rancid or bad, that is a problem, and you should contact your seller immediately. But just because there's water inside of the pump head doesn't mean you got a used unit. Alright, it looks like I've stalled long enough. Phil's got everything set up, but we're not ready to turn it on just yet. You're going to want to mount it to something, even if it's just this block of wood Phil has. This thing is going to vibrate like the dickens, so you're going to want to clamp it down one way or another, whether you mount it to a wall or just a block of wood. Just 4 screws right into these anti-vibration mounting pads. Unfortunately, there are no screws included. It would have been nice. You may be tempted just to zip tie it to something, but whatever you zip tie it to, it's gonna vibrate the crap out of that too. Mounting it like this will also greatly reduce the amount of noise it makes as well. I mean, you could just use it with the pump on the table, but it's gonna rattle around, it's gonna bump, it's gonna vibrate away, and it might even fall off the table. So in our book, mounting is not optional, but how you mount it is something that you'll have to decide that fits your brew house the best. We want to be able to move ours around, so we're going to use a clamp and block method. And just as a note, you should probably unplug it before you do any mounting. Now that we have all 4 screws in, we can just use our simple A-clamp to clip it to basically anything we want. You want to see it wiggle, but not move anywhere too far. That freedom of movement is what really cuts down on the sound. But it's never going to be completely silent. Now, hindsight's always 20/20, but Phil's about to make a big mistake. One that he's telling himself over and over again right now to make sure that he doesn't screw up. Now, the pump does label it properly, but it could have been a bit more obvious for viewing at a distance, which is kind of a shame because he's spending so much time trying to get that hose on there, which it's a good fit. It would have went on easier if he would have warmed the tubing up with some hot water. Let us know in the comments section if you've figured out what feels screwed up already. But like any good brewer, we're going to test our equipment real quick just to make sure that everything works. You don't want to find out that your equipment's broken when beer is on the line. And we're going to give Phil a little bit of privacy as he figures out what he did wrong, because it takes a little longer than he'd like to admit. For those who don't know yet, what he did was he put the racking cane on the wrong side. So it was working in reverse. He was actually sucking in air and blowing it out through the bottom of the racking cane. So now that we've rewired it and fixed it, it should work properly. And as you can see there's definitely a reason why they tell you to have sanitizer in the line when you transfer your wine or beer with this pump. And that's because, due to the fact that it's self-priming, that means it's able to suck air up through the hose as well. Not a problem when you're in primary, but definitely when you've moved on to secondary or bottling. What you're supposed to do is load it up like it is now with sanitizer, and then when it starts to move out the wine or beer that you're transferring, stop, move to the vessel you're actually moving to, and then continue the process. While not ideal, you take pros and cons when you use any bit of equipment. We don't like auto siphons that much anymore because there's just a lot of surface area to clean, and they can be a bit unwieldy. Plus, they still require gravity. Something that would have been cool to include with the kit would be this racking cane clip. Otherwise, without a foot pedal, how are you supposed to hold the racking cane and the other end of the hose from moving when you turn the pump on? While not aggressive, it does have a bit of a kick, and that could stir up some settlement. And as you can see, we've put a timer on screen so that you can see how many seconds it takes to move this exactly a gallon of water with sanitizer in it. No time manipulation is happening at this time. And honestly, at this point, we already are in love with this pump. Even though it costs a bit more than it would have to DIY this, it's nice. And as you can see, the pressure's nice, but not overly aggressive. This pump is definitely tuned for transferring beer and wine, whereas those black ones off Amazon are meant for RVers to have water pressure in the showers, or at-home car washes. Normally we would angle the jar so that we could get all of the liquid over, but we wanted to see how it would react to running dry suddenly. But a gallon a minute, that is what's advertised on the website, so spot on. Now, we did mention earlier that this isn't the first time we've used the pump in voiceover, but it is the first time we use it on camera, and we like it. And after using it more, we like it even more. We will make a video with a deeper dive into how we feel about this device, but it's made our lives easier when it comes to filming and brewing at the same time. Especially once we started using a foot pedal to turn it on and off, using 2 racking canes, and soon we're going to test a stainless steel bottling wand on the other end. Although that one might be a little dangerous. And we have no regrets using this over the DIY version just because it works out of the box, power supply included, no headaches. Plus, it just feels more food safe for some reason. And if you've made it this far, why not click that subscribe button if you haven't already? Leave some input in that comment section, or support us by using some of our affiliate links in the description, or just check out some of our other videos here.